Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to the round 7 of the Grand Chess Tour in 2019 in Croatia. So we had many draws today. The only winning game was this game that I wanted to show you today. It was played by Jan Nepomniachtchi against Magnus Carlsen, and Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces. Well, I don't know what to say anymore about Magnus Carlsen. A couple of rounds ago we had a tactical battle between Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. Hikaru Nakamura lost in the tactical battle. Today we had the positional battle. Again, the opponent lost also in the positional battle. So I don't know how to win a game against Magnus Carlsen anymore. Who else can win against him? Because he plays really chess from another dimension. And Garry Kasparov said really one interesting thing about Magnus Carlsen. They asked him if is it possible that Magnus Carlsen reaches this 2900 rating. Well, Garry said maybe not. It doesn't even matter because if a player like Anish Giri is worth 2800 rating points, then Magnus is at least worth 2900 rating points. So that's why he's really something else. He doesn't lose a game anymore. I don't know when he lost the last game. I haven't the info, haven't made the research, but I think it's about now maybe 60 or 17 games that he hasn't lost. So letting out today's game again. It was sort of a positional battle. It was a similar game like in this Grand Chess tournament against Peter Swidler. It was a similar line. You see what's all about and what are the ideas for both of the players in these types of lines. So we had the Old Sicilian defense played by Magnus Carlsen, here e4, played by Jan Nepomniachtchi, c5, knight on f3, knight on c6, and now knight on c3. This is now a little bit reversed line, because in this knight on c6 with bishop on b5 ideas we have this Nešmedinov attack, and with this direct line with d4 like Fabiano Caruana often played in the World Championship in 2018. Well, you get the risk that Magnus Carlsen will play this Lasker or Pelican Sicilian, in which he is really unbeatable. So that's why here knight on c3 was played by Jan Nepomniachtchi, going into this normal line, developing the knights. But here Magnus plays this move e5. He closes the center immediately, and here after bishop on c4, well, we have now after potential d3 and d6, well, we always have this static pawn structure in the center. So you see, it's really hard to push pawns here for d4 or d5. So we from this point on, we all know that it will be really a positional game. But the most important thing is that I have never seen that one player goes into a tactical battle from these lines, because you see Jan Nepomniachtchi still has the opportunity to push the pawn here on c3 and then maybe create some kind of a pawn breakthrough on d4 to get an open game. You see here the c3 pawn is possible in order to crack the position, but Jan Nepomniachtchi played a positional game, went to a positional battle against Magnus and didn't make any attacking moves. Let me express in this way. He didn't harm Magnus Carlsen in this game at all, I think. So here g6 by Carlsen. There are some lines with bishop on e7, then knight on f6, and when you see now this static center here in the position, well, it leads often into this positional battles in which you try to search for positional trades of pieces. Basically, the knights are very good in this type of position, so it's often happens that you give up maybe your bishop for a knight just to have good squares, like here on d5 for the knights. So many positional possibilities here for both sides. Here after g6, d3 was played. You see c3 can be a preparation, then after the d4 we have here h6. So Magnus Carlsen plays a very interesting positional move, because he's not allowing some bishop on g5 ideas, because we have weakened a little bit the queen side, the king side with the move h6 and this move g6 already. So bishop on g5 can be an annoying move. So pardon me. So here after h6, Jan Nepomniachtchi goes into a very aggressive line with h4. But there is also this problem after here d6 and h5. We have now again a sort of a blocking system that Magnus Carlsen has built here with the move g5. So in order to crack the position, you have to play maybe something like g3 or then followed with f4, just in order to open the position. But you'll need many moves with your knight. You have to secure the king, so it might take a while for the pawn breakthrough. Here knight on h2 was played by Jan Nepomniachtchi, which is an idea to create here a sort of a knight outpost on f5 or here on d5, because as I mentioned, when you have these holes, these weaknesses that Magnus Carlsen has really in the position, then you should really occupy these squares on the other side of the board. So it means these weak squares here on d5 and f5. Bishop on g7 played by Carlsen, and now knight on g4. Here knight on e7 played by Carlsen, and here knight on e3. Castling, bishop on d2, and now king on h8. And this is now a very interesting move, which forces now Jan Nepomniachtchi to create a more static position even. So it's the move g4. So you see, if you play something passive like queen on e2 or something, then you Magnus Carlsen has immediate chance here to open the position with the move f5. So that's why here g4 played by Jan Nepomniachtchi, and here rook on b8. So now we have really, after this move g4, the position gets really static. So there are no pawn breakthroughs. Any pawn breakthroughs are really not possible here on the king side. f5 and f4 is out of game here. So that's why the position is really fixed and cemented on the king side. So we don't have any worries for some pawn breakthroughs on the king side. That's why Magnus Carlsen immediately plays the move rook on b8 in order to create some kind of an open position, at least here on the queen side. So that's why a4. Nepomniachtchi is also trying to create a blockade here on the queen side, and now knight on d4. So now really pawn moves are really not possible so far. So that's why Magnus Carlsen tries to get the advantage of space by fixing the knight, at least here on d4. But white can do also with the potential knight outpost here on d5. But I would still love to see some c3 or d4 pawn breakthroughs, which Jan Nepomniachtchi didn't play in this game, to go into an open battle against Magnus Carlsen. He didn't do that in this game. Here after knight on d4, knight on d5, so we have many jumps of this knight. Knight takes on d5, knight takes on d5, and now knight on e6 by Carlsen. He didn't even risk here that white can gain a tempo here with the move c3, and then maybe with this potential pawn breakthrough. Here f3 was played, and okay, it's a cementing move. It cements really now the king side, but I would love to see maybe such moves, queen on f3, at least try somehow to infiltrate in the position, to maybe create some kind of attacks here. a6 could be the continuation in order to create this flank attack that Magnus Carlsen has prepared. But here a5 can also be a very nice blocking system for white. After knight on d4, we could go queen on d1, and maybe then really try this c3 pawn breakthrough. So still we can castle here from white's perspective, and then also play the move f3. So there are no problems here. Here f3 played by Nepomniachtchi immediately, and now knight on f4. Magnus Carlsen creates a very nice knight outpost on a very active square. Queen on b1, and here bishop on e6. If you try something like knight on f4, then after e takes f4, bishop takes on e6. Doesn't bring you so much, because after f takes e6, now black has a flexible pawn structure with the move d5, so this trades of pieces would mean nothing in the favor of Jan Nepomniachtchi. After potential c4, still we can play d5 just in order to crack open the position somehow. After queen on c2, we can simply play queen on d6, bishop c3, queen takes on c3, could be a nice line. But now after d4, you see, if the queen moves again here on c2, now I think black still has a flexible position to crack the position here with the move b5, so with the preparation, of course, with the move a6. But it's a rook ending with some queens on the board. It's really hard to win this game. So as said, here queen on a2 was played, and now queen on d7 by Carlsen, rook on g1, and here b6 by Carlsen. Here bishop on c3, and now bishop takes on d5, bishop takes on d5, and you see this bishop is very well placed. But after potential f6 or similar ideas, well, this bishop is aiming into nothing, and it's still hard to create some pawn breakthroughs. So this position is really static, this position is really equal. So I don't know why Nepomniachtchi really lost this game, because he had really here some nice drawing chances at least. So here a6, and now bishop on d2, rook on f1, with some preparations to play the very important f5 move. This can only happen if we crack the position here on the like squares with the move b5 and c4. Rook on f1 was played, and now you see b5. Now Magnus is trying to find some kind of a space here on this very static position. A takes b5, a takes b5, and now king on f2. This is now secured king, it seems, but this position of the king is still in a natural position, and Magnus Carlsen would get use of this very unnatural king's position. So here he plays immediately c4. There is this very tricky line. If you take d takes c4, we can take, of course, b takes c4. After bishop takes on c4, now you see f5. It's very aggressive. If you take something like bishop on f4, well, then you have e takes f4, and here after e takes f5, then queen on e3 is very dangerous. After king on g2, then rook on b2. It can be a very dangerous line. So that's why here after c4, bishop on f4 was played by Nepomniachtchi, and now e takes f4. And rook from a to d1 was played, because this is now really tricky. If you try something like rook from f to d1, well, then you get this one, f5 again. I mentioned you before, this f5 is the is this move that really cracks open the position. Here after g takes f5 we have a very interesting line here, g4. And if you take something, this is very dangerous with this bishop and this queen combined. Black can really build sort of a mating net here around white's king. If you take e takes f4, then again bishop on d4, king on g2, and then queen on e2 is very dangerous. King on h1, queen on f2, and again white is lost. So that's why you see white had to stay with this rook on the f file. And here Nepomniachtchi played the correct move, rook from a to d1, but here Magnus plays the move f5. And again, very interesting move. Well, the correct move here is to play the move e takes f5. So if you try this queen on e3, then we have king on g2, and then now after queen on e2, we have king on h1, and in this position white can still battle for a draw here. After c takes d3, we have c takes d3, and now rook on c1 could be the continuation, but now bishop on b3, rook from f to e8 can play it, but now queen on a6 and similar ideas. Still hard for black here to make some progress, and it's really a drawish game. So, but here Nepomniachtchi, instead of e takes f5, takes, and this is now his choice. In this move with E takes f5, he still has the draw. After G takes f5, he's completely lost. So here G takes f5, and now comes the stunner g4. And here Nepomniachtchi tried d4 in order to prevent this bishop on d4 ideas. But if you try something like rook on d2, it's still a lost game, because rook on f5 can be really, really dangerous, or f takes after f takes g4 we have this very, very annoying check, queen on h4, king on e2 can be played, and now you see with this bishop and this queen on g4, white will be lost here. So that d4 Nepomniachtchi played, which is even worse. Here Magnus Carlsen played queen on h4, again with an immediate threat here, so that's why king on e2 had to play it. But now queen on h2 with the check, you cannot go anywhere, so that's why you have to cover with your rook. And now very interesting idea, g takes f3. If you take with the king on f3, then queen on h5 is the continuation. If you take king on f4, then you lose the rook. So here after g takes f3, Jan Nepomniachtchi resigned, because if you try something like king on f1, then you get checkmated immediately on h1. If you try something like king on e1, then you get queen on g1, and again you have to move your king to d2, and you lose the rook here on f2. So as said, let's go back here. Very, very interesting moment after f5. Here e takes f5 was the best move, because the position is again static, the pawns cannot move. Here the whole game was really, really so static. Here after g takes f5, it got mobile again with this move g4. Unbelievable stuff. In this position Jan Nepomniachtchi is completely lost. So I feel a little bit sorry, because although he didn't go into a direct line against Magnus Carlsen, but still had this very nice drawing chances in a very, very static game, but he made this decisive mistake and lost the game. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. We'll follow this Grand Chess Tour even more with some more games in the next round. We have now finished round 7 out of 11, and Magnus Carlsen is now the board leader with 5 points. Wesley So has 4 points, so we'll see what happen. I think Magnus is gonna win this tournament, like all of this in this year. He's playing very, very phenomenal chess in this year, and congratulations also for this nice tactical idea with the move f5. Okay, meanwhile you can watch my other commented chess game with some other tournaments like the Grand Chess Tour and some many more. And you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. And you can also watch my commented chess games played by the top engines like Lila C0, Stockfish, and many more. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.